Okay, good morning, everybody. So let's just, I will just ask if there are any questions from previous few classes. If there is any questions, ask them now. So let us continue our discussions on the base classifier.
Sir,
Yeah, please go ahead.
sir, you told on that discrete part on setup one that we just calculate these prior probabilities and class conditional densities using our
Sorry, using what? You am not able to hear you.
using our data. We just calculate
Yeah,
our
yeah,
prior probabilities and class conditional densities,
that is
and with
correct.
the help of these, we find out posterior probability on a new x.
Yes, correct.
So, sir, why can't we just take that posterior probability for a new x to be equal to that posterior probability from the data set?
Posterior probability from that x. So for a new x that you get, so using that you can compute the posterior probability, that I understand, and then whichever is highest you can report it. That is one strategy. What is your alternative proposal?
Sir, why can't we use it? Why can't we estimate it directly from the data?
Okay, you might not
Just
first of
like
all.
prior,
Yeah, yeah,
just like
yeah,
our
yeah.
prior and class conditional density.
Yeah, so if you estimate it from data, that will anyway give you the same thing, right? See, the posterior that you are calculating is based on the data itself. So your class conditional density is estimated based on data. Your prior is estimated based on data, right? So your posterior also is actually being estimated based on data. All that you are using about X is you want to find out for a particular person what it is, but you are doing all the computation based on data. Okay, so you will see, we are going to talk about estimators in the second part of this base classifier. Base classifier is half the story, right? See, whatever we have discussed so far, we have assumed that the priors are given. We have assumed that the class conditional densities are given, but we didn't say how are they coming. I just vaguely told it is coming from data, but you need a way to really properly estimate it from data. So that is the second part of the course. We are going to discuss that. We are going to also implement few problems based on that. Okay, so some real world data set, you're going to do something. All right, so Rajneesh, I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope I did.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so anybody else has any questions?
So we'll be recapping the thing about the perceptron and these concepts. The last 5 minutes of the class where we talked about these newer concepts, we'll be revising those or studying those again, right?
Yeah, we are studying. So the whole classifier thing. So let me just connect my device over here. See, yeah, I need to open this again. Just a minute. Okay, so let us just briefly recap. We are going to discuss that in detail at later point, Rohit. So, but what I was trying to convey yesterday. So basically, there are this generative approaches, okay, for machine learning, and then there is a discriminant approach. Okay, so these are the two approaches. So generative approach, it has priors, something like P0, P1, okay, and then it has posteriors. Sorry, it has class conditional densities, which is F0, F1, so on. Then it has a loss function. Okay, loss function is there. So we looked at, so far we have been only focusing on 0-1 loss, right? So this one, we said the loss is 1 when h of x is not equal to y and 0 otherwise, right? This is what the generative approach is. Now in the discriminative approach, discriminant approach, what you are going to do is that your classifier h of x will report 1 if some function of x, okay, is greater than 0. So this is the complete discriminant approach. You don't care about the prior, you don't care about the posterior, you care about nothing. So essentially one example that we saw was the perceptron. Okay, we are going to discuss this. We are in the first part of the course where we are talking about the generative approach. We are then going to go into discriminant approach in detail. But just to recap, so in perceptron, what we just said is that it is going to say h of x equal to 1 if w transpose x is greater than 0. Okay, so that is what we said. And why we discuss this is because in the generative approach itself, okay, for the special case 1, when you have P0 equal to P1 equal to half, what you ended up getting was something similar to W transpose X greater than 0. We got X is greater than mu1 plus mu0 by 2. So when this happens, you say h of x is equal to 1, right? If this, then this, else h of x equal to 0. So Rohit, do you understand why we brought up discriminant approach when we were discussing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are going to fully focus on discriminant approach. See, discriminant approach is what you learn when you see any machine learning tutorials, any machine learning videos. People focus on this most of the time. Okay, but you need to have some theory which connects all of this so that you can clearly tell where each of these objects lie. Okay, and then see that whenever your machine learning model doesn't work, you should not choose another algorithm from the bag and try to use it. Should think about the problem and see what's happening. So that is where this theory is useful. Okay. So anyway, you're going to implement this as well. So this is very practical also. So anyway, so we are going to recap all of this, not recap, properly study this in the next half of the course. All right. So let's keep this discussion aside till that time. Okay. Anybody else has any questions or shall we move on to the next part in the generative approach, the Bayes classifier? Any questions? Okay. So let us continue our discussion on Bayes classifier. Okay, so what we have been looking at was a case where, you know, what you do is your h of x is equal to 1 if q1 of x is greater than q0 of x. Okay, 0 otherwise. This is what we saw. But this was for the loss function, which was this. Right, so this was for the loss function which said we will have a loss if h of x is not equal to y, 0 otherwise. Okay, so this is what we saw. And also a side note, let me mention, see, we saw in when we were using in the when we had only prior probabilities, when only priors were used, right? You remember this, that we had a randomized classifier. We said that h of x is equal to h of x, xz. Okay, z is a random quantity like a coin toss. We said this is what we will use, if you remember this, right? So this approach we saw is not useful. Okay, so henceforth, okay, whenever you look at classifier, h of x is assumed to be deterministic, because deterministic means given a fixed value of x, h of x is not random. Okay, it is going to tell you exactly what choice you need to make. Deterministic. Okay, so we are going to only restrict here. So this is what we saw so far. Okay, so let us now try to generalize for a different loss function. So we saw one proof of optimality. So we saw that for the 0-1 loss function, we saw one proof. What we saw was our probability of error, okay, is actually going to be integral minimum over P0 F0 P1 F1 dx. This is what we saw. Okay, so this is this kind of error. This is for the Bayes classifier. This is what we saw for the 0-1 loss function. So now, as I promised yesterday, we are going to look at another proof. But this time what we will do is we will try to generalize. So we will move away from 0-1 loss function and we will look at a more general loss, right? What is the meaning of this general loss? So let me try to explain that. Okay, so general loss functions. Okay, so now, so if you look at suppose there is a fingerprint recognition system. Okay, so what you need to tell is like X. Okay, X is a new what is that? New visitor. Okay, so his fingerprints, new visitors, biometrics or fingerprints or whatever. Okay, so this is X. Y is whether he is authorized or not. So this is like a actual true authorization. Okay, so now if you look at the kind of losses that arise. Okay, so if I predict somebody as so now we are trying to see what is the loss it will be for this. So here, if you look at this problem, right? So this problem is not symmetric. 0, 1 loss function is not a good metric here. Why? Because if you consider this loss, so if you are, if the biometric system says he is authorized, but this is not authorized, this is a significant security breach, right? This is a significant security breach. So this loss is going to be much, much greater than the loss incurred when the new person, like a person who is actually authorized, is not allowed. Okay, so this is like a genuine customer being denied to enter. So this is a much lesser loss. Why? Because if this happens, then there is a serious problem in the security. Whereas if this happens, this is a minor inconvenience. Okay, so now this kind of a approach, right? This is what you really desire. So these are called as okay, in the language of your. So this is called as specificity. Okay, you don't need to know the name. Okay, so this is called as specificity. Somebody who is not authorized being authorized, this kind of a loss is a type. I don't know what is called type 1 or type 2 loss. The other one is called as sensitivity. Okay, so these things are not important names, but I'm just telling you this is what it's used in statistics. So the whole point here of this general loss function discussion is that you need not necessarily have the same kind of magnitude for the different types of errors that you can incur in a system. Okay, so now we need to design a Bayes classifier which is general for different types of losses. So that is the motivation for the next discussion. Is that all right? Okay, so I will continue because I think this is an easy concept. So I think the whole of discussion of Bayes classifier, if you really look at it calmly and look at it systematically, you'll find that the ideas are extremely simple. Okay, it's a very, very trivial setup. The theory, everything is easy. The confusion that you may feel or the difficulty if you're feeling, that is mainly because of the notations that are there. Okay, so you can always revisit these lectures and then you will get better ideas. Okay, so general loss function anyway is a very easy concept. So let us work in the area of general loss functions, and now let us even try to ask something else. So in order to be coming for the best Bayes classifier, so this Bayes classifier where you are choosing based on posterior is for 0-1 loss function. We need analogous Bayes classifier for general loss functions. To do that, let us look at a further generalization of the classifier. Okay, so let's look at this. So your script X is the set of all features, right? Then what you have is Y, which are all the classes. So let us try to generalize this, and instead of having two classes 0 and 1, let us have M classes. So let us say your classes are class 1, class 2, class 3, all the way till class M. Okay, so this is first generalization that I'm going to do. Class 1, class 2, class 3, class M. So this is these things, and then my decision, right? What I am deciding, what is a choice I will make, that is coming from action set A. Here I will have actions such as alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, all the way till alpha k. Okay, so this seems a little unusual. Why should we have something other than the classes? So, but if you really think about it, this can be the usual classifier. How is that? Example, your actions can be chosen to be equal to the action set. Okay, so I shouldn't write belongs. So this is equal to. So your action set could also be equal to C1, C2, CM. So this becomes the usual classifier. Okay. This is example 1. So example 2, you could have the same classifier things like C1, C2, all the way till CM, and then you can have unsure option. So unsure means I cannot properly distinguish between the M choices. So this is like a rejection classifier. You can have a rejection as an option classifier. Okay, so these are the things that you will get if you choose a general action set. Okay, so let us work in this with the understanding that this is the same thing if you choose the action set same as Y. Okay. So I think I should just quickly check if everyone is following along. Are there any questions? If it's clear, can you just quickly say yes?
Sir, what is A exactly?
Okay, yeah, I will tell you. Okay, so basically what is happening, Shivam, is that your action set, if I choose the same as C1 to CM, it becomes the usual classifier. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So, but I can also have C1 to CM and I can have an unsure option, which is like, I don't really know which of the M classifiers is a good fit. So this is a generalization, right? This is a new type of classifier. You wouldn't have seen it before. Yes, Shivam, does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
So basically what I'm doing is I'm generalizing the classifier to actions which are beyond what is specified. Is that okay? So this need not necessarily be the same. That is what I'm doing. I hope this is clear.
So,
Yeah, Viraj.
so those are only two possibilities, right? Other than this, it can't be anything else.
No, there can be. Good question. So basically this area is what is called as Bayesian decision theory. Okay. It's a very good question that you're asking. Okay, so the thing is, this was used in World War II. So machine learning is hardly a new concept. People have thought about this forever. Okay, so in the World War, if there is some kind of a evidence, okay, whether there is a radar of a incoming flight, there used to be different choices available. Either you notify this base, that base. You know, there are many choices. For a given evidence, you don't have to necessarily say there is a plane or not plane. That is a very limited choice. You could have many more things. In the modern example also, okay, if you have a customer coming into your website, okay, and then you look at its profile, you may have two classes, like whether he's a potential customer or not potential customer. But you may have multiple classes also. You may say potential customer in the next month, something like that may be there, or potential customer for giving a call back, a potential customer for a email promotion, for a potential customer for this promotion. So many different choices will be there. Do you understand, Piranch? So it's not necessarily classifier is not necessarily 0, 1. Yes, Viranch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else has any questions like this?
Sir,
Yeah.
the action set, sometimes is it possible that it is a subset of the set of classes, all classes?
Yes, that is also possible. So given that there are different kinds of customers. So let's say this is C1 is Indian customer, C2 is US, C3 is this, C4 is this, C5 is this. So many different places are there. You are able to detect who are all the people, but your actions may be simple, whether to follow up or not follow up. Yeah. So these things are possible. So it's depends on the problem at hand. So that is why it's important to have a proper framework to solve these kind of problems.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so moving on. So now with this
I
idea,
have another doubt.
yeah.
Sir, if that is the case, then why not just another feature, a discrete feature then? I mean,
Yes, yes.
if we are going to predict from the set A only, then what's the importance of having a separate Y? Why not include it with the set of features?
So okay, so there could be multiple layers of these things, right? So this could be like an intermediate layer. This particular action is one set of choices. This could be used as further in processing for the next layers. So this can be used for some other decision. Even though for this it is not really required, but this will be important for prediction of something else. Multiple classifiers can be there, right? One is for predicting whether he's a potential customer. The other one could be used for something else. Okay. So that all depends on the problem. So this is information. Why do you want to throw it away?
Sir, I'm not saying that we can throw it away. I'm saying that we can include it in the set of features itself. So this is another new feature, which is a discrete feature, which can take any values.
No. These are not observed. These are not observed. This is what you are inferring from a posterior. You're getting a posterior for this. It's not sure. You're not sure that these are the M things. So this is an inference. You have inferred about this. Okay, and then based on your inference, you are making an action. Does that make sense, Siddharth?
No, sir. I'll have to think about it maybe.
No. See, what is a feature? Feature is a fixed object. Okay, so if you are a customer who is coming to a Flipkart website, your profile are fixed. There is no uncertainty about you. Okay, because these are all the things that you have entered, and there is a good reason to trust them. So, but based on your features, if there is a propensity that you are going to buy, that is a inference. So there is no guarantee that you will buy. People like you have a distribution of how much amount of money you will spend on the website on a particular day. So that is just a belief. That's a posterior that the website can compute. Okay, but that is not a feature. I cannot say that is a feature of you. It is just something that I have inferred based on my data. You can add it as X. There is nothing hard and fast. You can do whatever you want, but it is better to have a distinguishing thing between what is known for sure and what you are inferring. Okay, so you think about it and you see how that helps, or maybe as you go down the course, you will see more examples and it will become clear on its own. Okay?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
So let me know at some point. Okay, so as such, you don't have any problem with the setup, right? The setup is at least clear. What is X, what is Y, what is A?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. So let's try to continue this discussion. So this is what we have as the classes, the features, the actions, and now as before we have the priors, we have the class conditional densities, and so on. So let us just quickly write them up. So your priors P0, P1, all the way till Pm. This is the probability that Y is 0, right? The same stuff. Y of X is equal to 1 and all this, the usual thing that you have been seeing so far. So this is your prior probabilities. Okay, so now with these priors, then you also have class conditional densities. Okay, so what you have is F0, which is what is the distribution of X given. So this is, yeah, so let me just
C1.
clear this. Yeah, so that's what. So this is F0. So this is what is the distribution of X condition on Y. So I should say this is C1 to Cm, right? So that is another mistake I have done. Okay. So this is C1, this is P1, this is P2, okay. This is C2 and this is Cm, okay. So this is what is the distribution of X given Y equal to C1, okay. So this is what we have. What we had earlier was probability of X given Y equal to C1 for discrete. So same thing. So you have F0, you have you have F1, you have F2 and all the way till Fm. So this is the usual class conditional densities. Okay. So just I hope there is no confusion here. And likewise, you can estimate the posteriors. So posteriors also you can estimate. So what is the posterior? So Qj of X. Okay. So this is going to be Pjfj by Z. okay, where Z is P summation, where Z is that's usual summation of Pi, Fi, I going from 1 to M. So the same usual stuff. But now there is a something different, because now if there was a 0, 1, if the loss function was 0, 1, okay, so if loss was 0, 1, then we will use the Qj, whichever Qj is maximized, we were going to use. Okay, then we know the solution. Okay, but what we are having is we don't have a 0, 1 loss, we have a general loss. So what is the objective? We want to minimize the risk. So the risk is this. Risk of a classifier H is given by expected value of the so let me just say how the loss function looks here. So since this is a slightly different setup, so we have to just make it little clear. So loss function is a function from what you decide to take action, and then what is the true y to r. Okay, that is the way it is. So for example, you can have a loss for, what is a loss if I choose action I and if the class is j. So something like this, you will have loss function. Okay, so this is the loss function. So the expected loss for a particular classifier H. So H, again, I'm just trying to be a little precise. So H is the classifier, okay, or the decision. So H is a decision which is going from your X to your actions. Okay, I hope this is clear. So this is the Bayesian decision, or if you like, you can say classifier. So now what is that going to do? You are going to compute the expectation of, let me just use the same colors. So this is going to be H of X. Okay, oh my god, I forgot the loss. Okay, so loss of H of X comma Y. Okay, so this is what is the this is called as the risk of a classifier, risk of H. Now what we are supposed to do, the Bayes classifier minimizes this. Okay, so we don't know what's a Bayes classifier for a general loss function. That is what we are trying to achieve. And now what I'm saying is we can look at what is the H that minimizes it, and then whatever is that H, we will call it as the Bayes classifier. So that is the approach that we are going to take. Okay, so in order to do this, we are going to condition our calculations. So let us do that. So this is equal to expected value of loss of H of X comma Y, condition on X, and then you take another expectation. Okay, so this is the usual conditioning. Now what we will further do, we will call, let us denote R of H of X to be equal to the inner expectation. Okay, so this is equal to expected value of L of H of X comma Y. Just these are all simply notations. Okay, you will soon see what is the use of doing all of this. So essentially what ends up happening is f of H is going to be so expectation of, so let me write this. Okay, expectation of R of H of X. So this is what it is. So now let me ask people in the class, what do they think this is equal to? So let us see. Just think about what we have been discussing on the probability theory discussions, and tell me what is this expression equal to? Yes, anyone wants to give a try? What is this? What is this f of h? How can we write the next step? What is the expectation taken over? if I take so let us say x and y are two random variables. Okay, so is expected value of x given y a random variable? Is this random? Anybody from UG, can someone make a guess? So let me just pick few names. Okay, don't get scared. There is nothing wrong. So Avinash, is this a random variable, expected value of x given y? Okay, Avinash says yes. Bhavna, do you agree with him? Is it random? You can reply in chat if you are afraid to speak out or anything. So Avinash says expected value of x given y is random. And I wanted to know what you think. Okay, so it is a random thing, right? Because we are saying that we can take expectation of that also, correct? We can take this expectation of this. So it's a random variable. So Avinash, which it's a random variable in x, or is it a random variable in y? Okay, okay. So you need to revise this. Okay, this thing. Let me explain briefly what is it. So let us just take a small diversion. So this is why I ask questions, and I want you to participate in the class, because I will not know where you stand. So let us just do a quick recap of expected value of what is this. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so expected value of x. Okay, so this is what this is, summation x px of x, right? So this is what it is. So this is x belongs to some range. Okay, so this is what it is. So for example, if you take dice, okay, so you have x taking the values 1, 2, 3 up to 6, each with probability 1/6. Right, so E of x is a number. That is the observation that you can make. Okay, it's a number. Now let us take some joint distribution of x and y. Okay, so let us say x is if someone is high income, and y is someone is highly educated. Okay, so high income, high education. Now what is the probability that both of this happen? So this is the probability mass function. Okay, someone is high income, then is also high education. This will be quite a high number, 0.6. Someone is high income but low education. This will be 0.1, less probability. Okay, so someone is low income, high education. This will also be less, 0.1. Okay, and finally, what is the thing left? Both 0. Okay, so this is also some number. So this is 2, yeah, so 0.2, something like this. Okay, now when we have this, when you say what is expected value of x given y, what is the meaning of this? So this is not fully specified. So you have, this is consisting of two parts. You have expected value of x given y equal to 1. Then you have expected value of x given y is equal to 0. Okay, when y is equal to 1, if you look at these two, you can estimate what is the probability of x being. So this is x, and then you can ask what is the probability that x is taking that value given y is equal to 1. So this can be 1, this can be 0. Okay, so if I focus only on y equal to 1, these are the two places where it will come. Okay, so now 0.6 of times totally is 0.7. So this probability in the universe where we are only looking at y equal to 1, the probability that x takes a value 1, this is 0.6 by 0.7. Okay, and this is 0.1 by 0.7. So this is what we compute this number. Okay, and then similarly, we can compute for the other thing. Okay, so this will be some number. Okay, so this is 1 and 0. So let us see. So it is 0.1 by 0.3. Okay, and 0 with the 0.2 by 0.3. Okay, so now what is expected value of x? So let us do this. Expected value of x given y equal to 1. So that is nothing but taking the product and doing this. So this is 1 into 6 by 7 plus 0 into this. So this is 6 by 7. Okay, this is expected value of x given y equal to 0. Okay, what is this? This is 1 by 3. Okay, so let me just quickly pause and ask if these steps are clear with everybody. So let's just go back to our screen and look at the chat. Okay, so Avinash, is this step clear? Whatever I have computed so far, Avinash, Rohit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so everybody, please let me know if this so far it is clear. Okay, this is important. Okay, so all right, so this is very good. So this you follow. Now you see what we are saying is expected value of x is taking two different values. Okay, so let us write this. So expected value of x given y. Okay, this will take value 6 by 7 or 1 by 3. Okay, and what is the probability this happens? This depends upon what is the probability that y is equal to 1, and this is this is the probability of y. So this will happen for y equal to 1 only, right? And y equal to 1 happens with probability 0.7, and this happens with probability 0.3. So if you look at this, okay, you understand that expected value of x given y is a random variable in y. Is this clear now? Because the value that expected value of x given y takes depends upon what is the value of y, and y itself is random. Is this clear to people? Why expected value of x given y is random first, and then it is a random variable in y. Is it clear to people? Yes. I am not hearing anything from the girls today. So what happened? Bhavna, Devyani, are you following? Okay. Who else is there? There are a lot of like this Pooja. Nobody is speaking, saying anything. Is it all right? Okay. So please participate. See, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, I don't even know how all of you look. So I don't know what's going on. So you have to ask me questions. All right. So anyway, coming to this point, what we have been doing. So we have now focused our attention. So let's come back to the problem. Okay. So let's just quickly recap. So basically, we are now trying to generalize the idea of Bayes classifier. Okay. So what we did is we allowed for two levels of generalization. First level is we will look at m classes instead of two classes. This is level 1 of generalization. Level 2 is instead of having to predict y, we will look at possible actions that you may take. Okay, so this is called as Bayesian decision theory, and there also there will be different set of actions. Okay, and then we saw that this is not necessarily very different from whatever we have been studying so far. If you choose A as the set y itself, then it's a usual classifier. Okay, but it does give you some extra features. Okay, so this is what we started off with. Then we had the prior probabilities. This is as before. Then we had the class conditional densities, okay, which is the distribution of x given the actual class is certain class, like class 1, class 2, and so on. Then we also saw how we can compute the posterior probabilities. This is the same thing as before. Okay, so then since we are not interested in 0-1 loss, we are actually interested in the loss that arises when you take a particular decision and the y is taking a other value. Okay, so that's why you have losses of this form. So now, in order to arrive at a Bayes classifier, we looked at what is the loss that we should be minimizing. The loss is the expected value of loss, which is also called as the risk of the classifier. So that is what we would like to minimize, which is given by this expression. Okay. And we said that we can solve this by conditioning on X. Okay. And the whole discussion that I was telling you so far is that X, when you have a conditioning on X, it's a random variable in X. Okay. This is a very important idea. Okay. So things will get a little more probabilistic. It is not really difficult, but you have to understand these things better. Okay. So yeah.
So
Go
I
ahead.
couldn't understand that how you wrote the second part, like from the risk, the second expression, the conditioning on X.
Okay. So this line from here to here.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, so this expectation is taken over what values, Aditi? Which are all the random variables for this?
So basically the loss function would depends on H and Y.
Yeah, and H in turn depends on X and Y. X and Y are the random quantities, right?
Yeah.
So now are you familiar with this expected value of X is equal to expected value of X given Y? Are you familiar with this?
I'm not able to recall this.
Okay, so let me explain this again once again. This is a small diversion, but it's a very easy thing. I don't want you to be lost. So let us just quickly do one more small diversion into probability. Okay. So Aditi, just I will ask you questions so that we get this discussion going. So let us say X is the marks. Okay, this is the marks, and Y is like the branches. So let us say there are only, for simplicity, there is CS, and then there is math and computing. Okay, there are two programs, CS, BTech math and computing. These are the two programs. Okay, now I want to find out the average marks of the class. Okay, so now can I do this? Can I do half? Let's say there are equal number of students. Can I do half into average, half into average math and computing? Can we do this, Aditi?
Yes.
Is that okay? So now, what is this average CS, Aditi? How do you find average CS? Tell me, how do you do it?
Like average CS.
Yeah.
I'm a bit lost.
No. See, you think about your class. There are CS class. There is a math and computing class. If I want to take the average in CS, what will you do? Average, I'm asking. Simple thing. What will you do?
The average in like
just collect everybody's
CS or something.
Yes, exactly. Collect everybody's marks divided by the total number of people, right? So that is what you will do. But that is nothing but you are collecting everybody's marks. You are taking its average, but you are focusing only on CS. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is what is conditioning, right?
Yes, sir.
So now similarly, average math and computing is also expected value of X given Y equal to MC. Now, what is this half? Can you tell me?
So like half the number of students, like half
exactly
CS and half in CS.
Yeah, so that is nothing but probability that you are in CS, okay, into expected value of X given Y equal to CS, plus probability that you are in math and computing, then expected value of X given Y equal to math and computing. Does that make sense, this expression?
Yes, sir.
So now this is nothing but expectation of this guy, because this is the only thing that you are changing, right? Whenever if you remember, expected value of X was Px X into Px of X. This is what we did, right? Do you remember this, right? So like that, if you see, Y is the random variable. So we are actually taking expectation over Y, expected value of X given Y. Is that all right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that's how you get this. Okay.
Okay.
I hope it is clear how this came. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so
sir,
let us. Yeah. So basically, what we are doing is that you are having a risk of H. So thanks, Aditi, for asking. Okay, because these things, many of you might have doubts, but you will not ask. and then you'll not understand, and you'll think that this is an enormously complicated object, whereas it is actually a simple object. Okay, so we are doing very, very simple things. So you need to ask questions if you don't follow. All right, so you are having basically a function of x and y. So this is a randomness. The expectation is taken over x and y. What we can do is we can break down the expectation. First, you fix a value of x, you look at the loss, and then you take an overall expectation over x. Okay, so this is the law of iterated expectations. So this way you can simplify it. Now what I'm doing is I'm just calling it by a name. Okay, so just like my name is Satyanath. So like that, you just take this useless object and call it by this name. This is just a naming. I'm just naming it for convenience. Okay, so that's all I'm doing here. This is just a name. Okay, so basically, okay, so I hope I don't have to again go back, but I want you to just quickly see there is prior, there is class conditional, there is posterior. We are trying to find out for a particular classifier, what is the minimum risk? Okay, and to compute the minimum risk, we have to take the expectation of the loss function. And to do that, we are fixing a value of x and taking an expectation, and then taking the expectation of x outside. Okay, so this actually helps us in finding out what classifier minimizes the risk. Okay, so let us continue from that point. So this discussion was just a recap on what are all these concepts. Okay, so let's not discuss that again. Okay, so what you have is f of h. This is equal to expectation of x first. Then you fix the value of x. Look at the loss of h of x, comma y, fixing an x. Okay, so this is what we saw. And now this is nothing but I'm taking the outer expectation I'm writing. So this inner fellow, I said we are going to denote it as r of h of x given x. Okay, so this is going to be r of h of x given x into fx dx. Okay, so this is what it is. So because you are taking an expectation over x, it's becoming like this. Okay, so we don't necessarily know f of x. See, if you remember, we know p0, sorry, we know p1 to pn. We know this. Then we know the class conditional densities f1 to fm. Okay, so we don't know what is this f, but that doesn't matter. We are not going to use this specifically anywhere. Okay, so I hope this is okay. So basically, we will say HB is Bayes classifier if the risk of HB of x, okay, given an x, is less than r of h of x given x for all x. Okay, so this is what we will call as Bayes classifier. So we have to find out what classifier minimizes this particular entity. If that is minimized, then by definition we have arrived at the optimal classifier, and that is what we will call as Bayes classifier. Okay, so that is what we are going to do, and that is the next step. So let us do that, and let's try to finish this. So again, I think it's important to just check once again if people are following. So is it clear to people? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So see, you may not totally follow some of the things if your probability is not clear. So revisit the lectures, watch it. If you don't understand, look at probability books. If you still don't understand, you ask me, and we can have a special discussion to just discuss that. Okay, I have to make you understand. There is no two ways about it. Okay, we cannot have a dilute course anyway. I have to teach you what is necessary, and if required, I will spend more time and I will teach you. But you have to ask me. Okay, I cannot. If it was a physical lecture, I would have made you come to the board and write. But since it is not like that, there is no choice. You have to take a little bit initiative. All right. So don't feel shy to ask. I will move on. So this is what it is. Now things are going to get a little more complicated, but it is actually simple itself if you follow probability well. Okay. So yeah. So let's do that. R of h of x given x. So this is what we need to minimize this, right? So let us start with this. This is nothing but expected value of L of h of x comma y given x. Okay. So people who had taken my probability course last semester, I was not joking when I said the entire machine learning is based on probability. Okay, so it's important. Now you see the importance of why we spent so much time on conditioning. I hope that was useful. Okay, anyway, that aside, so now this is what we are doing. So looking at this, so here, what is a thing that is random? So every time when we have things like this, we need to identify what is random. Okay, so it is, so this is in this inner expectation, I have fixed a value of x. Okay, so let me just say x equal to small x, some x. Okay, so let's say we want to evaluate this. So what is random here? So let me ask people. Okay, so yes, somebody wants to jump into the well and ask me what is the answer for this. Someone wants to try.
Sir, h and y.
H is not random, Rajnish, because I just spent some time telling you why H cannot be random, right? See, you remember we said that when we only use the prior, we added some randomness to X, right? So some Z, so given X, I added some randomness. Do you remember this, Rajnish? We
Yes,
said
sir.
that this classifier is not, by adding noise, you're not going to improve your classifier. So this is not really going to help you. So H is not random. Given an X, H is fixed. Is that okay? H is deterministic.
Okay.
Correct? Okay. So H is not random. What is random? Given an X, what will change in this expression here? Okay. Let me ask this way. So we had looked at that special case, right? So there were two values like this, right? F0 and F1. Okay. So this was your X. So let us say this is, you remember this? This is mu, Rajnish, do you remember this? Mu0, mu1. Yesterday we discussed this, right?
Yes, sir.
So now I say there is some customer who has paid the tax on this day. So what is random about that customer? Rajnish or anybody, can you tell what is random about that customer?
So either he falls in the default or not default.
Very good. So either he falls in default, either he belongs over to here, default class, or he belongs to this class. So this is y equal to 0 or y equal to 1. So he belongs to either of these two classes. X, once it is fixed, what is uncertain is y. Okay. So essentially, what we are trying to do is basically the expectation is taken over by condition on x equal to x. Okay. Okay, so somebody answered and I assume people have understood, but please ask if things are clear. X is the random variable, correct, Shivam? But in this, when I'm evaluation, I have fixed a value of x. Okay, so that time it is not random. Shivam, does it make sense? No, if it is not fixed, it is random. So if I don't write anything, so okay, if I just say x, expected value of x given y without writing the small y, it is not random. See here. So when you fix y equal to small y, it is, this value is a number now. But if I don't specify this, if I don't specify whether y equal to 1 or y equal to 0, then it becomes random. Shivam? Yes. See, if I don't specify y equal to 1 or y equal to 0, then it's a random variable in y. But once I fix y equal to 0, yeah, okay, thanks. All right, so yeah, so we will take like 5 minutes, 10 minutes extra and finish this business, but I want everybody to follow. Okay, so are there any questions so far? Devyani, Bhavna, all these girls are very quiet today. What's going on?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Is it clear to the rest? Can I have a poll in the chat? If it's not clear, you tell me. Okay. So go back and see my lecture, okay? Then it will become more clear. Spend some time revisiting the probability, but this is what it is. Now, what do you know about, what can you say? What is this probability y equal to y given x equal to x? Do we know this? Do we know this? Anyone? What is this? See, we have seen what is P0.
So that was the Q0, QC.
Yes, very good. Very good. Okay. So, yeah, who answered that?
So Divyani.
Okay, very good. So anyway, let me just see if other people can also follow. So P0 was probability y equal to, P1, let us say C1, right? This is what we saw. P2 is the probability that y equal to C2 and so on, right? This was our priors. Okay, then we had class conditional densities, which is the distribution of x given y equal to some class Cj, right? This was our class conditional densities called as Fj. Okay, now what we did was we also computed what was called as posteriors. Okay, posterior. So what is posterior? It is probability that y is equal to Cj given x equal to some x. This was called as Qj of x. Okay. Does everybody understand that this is equal to this distribution of y is nothing but q1 of x, q2 of x, all the way till qj of x. Sorry, qm of f. There are totally m classes. So these are all the values that y can take. So this is equal to probability y equal to 1 given x equal to small x. This is the probability that y equal to 2 given x equal to small x, and so on. Yes? Do you follow this? Okay, very good. So now coming back, so what it means is r h of x given x equal to small x. This one is actually summation j equal to 1 to m. Okay, qj of x times loss incurred. Okay, when I predict hx and the true class is Cj. So this is an important expression. Okay. So does everybody understand the boxed expression? Yes. Okay, I cannot ask poll anymore because otherwise I will exceed like anything. So essentially what we are supposed to do is like we are supposed to find out what minimizes this. Okay. So our Bayes classifier, what it will do is it will choose minimum of, okay, all the actions I belonging to A, what is that, alpha I belonging to A, argmin. It will choose the action that minimizes this. So R alpha I given x equal to x. So this is our Bayes classifier. So what it will do is, see, there are given h of particular value of x. Okay, given that x is equal to x, I have to make choices between one of the three. Either you have to use alpha 1 or alpha 2, or I can use alpha k. There are these k values. Okay, so each of this will give us some risk. What is that? This risk is r alpha 1 given x equal to x. Okay, what is r alpha 1 given x equal to x? That is nothing but summation j equal to 1 to m. Okay, qj of x loss alpha j cj. Okay, so there will be several such expressions. J equal to 1 to m, qj of x l alpha j. This is alpha 1, right? Yeah, so this is alpha 1, this is alpha k cj. So these are all the k choices that I have. Bayes classifier essentially chooses whichever, for a given value of x, it chooses whichever is the minimum, and that is what is reported. So for every x, if I do it, then I will essentially get something that minimizes the risk amongst all classifiers. Okay, and that is the Bayes classifier for a general loss function. Okay, so in order to finish this discussion, so today we will just finish it. So let us now look at a simple example. Okay, so let us fix our actions to be same as our class. So let us fix our action to be this. Okay, so your y is C1 to Cm. Okay, so this is your y, and this is my prediction. Okay, and my loss function, okay, loss function will be Ci Cj. I will fix it as 0, 1 loss. So it will be 0 if I is not equal to j. Okay, if it is same, then it will. So if it is if it is 0, that it will be 1 if I am predicting something which is not the actual class. Okay, if Ci is not equal to Cj, 0 otherwise. If Ci equal to Cj, then I'm fine. So this is your standard 0, 1 loss. Okay, so now let us look at the classifier. So basically, for a given value of x, suppose let us say Ci is equal to argmin. Okay, of our argmin means which argument minimizes this expression. So basically this, right? So I will choose that alpha j. So in this example, alpha j is nothing but Cj. Okay, and j is belonging to all the actions. Okay, so I will choose that action which minimizes this, and I will report that. Suppose I is the minimizing for a given thing. So what it essentially means is that I am looking at the loss incurred on the left hand side versus other actions. So what it means for us is that your total Qi of x loss Ci Cj j equal to 1 to m. This one is less than some k equal to 1 to m, some other index of summation Qk of x. Okay, and the loss if I report something else. So let us say I'm reporting I, j, k, l, let us say r. Okay, Cj. Okay, for all Cr. So basically, if I report Ci, that is less than Cr. Okay, so what is the expression on the left hand side? So when will I incur loss? Whenever I and j are different. Okay, so this will be a summation of all the Qi's except the I which is equal to, except the j. Whenever j is equal to I, this will not appear because that will give us 0 loss. So this essentially will be 1 minus Q. So this is Qj. Okay, 1 minus Qi of x. This will be 1 minus Qi of x. This will be 1 minus Qr of x. Okay, this is for all Cr. Okay, this is what it is. Or in other words, Qi of x should be greater than Qr of x for all R, for all Cr, all the Crs. Okay, so this is nothing but the Bayes classifier. If I use just the posterior probability, this is what we had been seeing earlier. Okay, so I know we went through this a little fast, but I just wanted to finish this discussion. So what I suggest is you go back and look at this lecture and check. Okay, so I am available for answering questions, but I don't want to keep everybody waiting. So let me just quickly finish this. So what we have done is like, let me just quickly recap. Okay, so we had looked at a general loss function. The general loss function is based on the general actions. So instead of having the same prediction, we have different actions, different classes. Okay, and the loss function is from this to this. So it's not a 0, 1 loss function. We wanted to find out what's the optimal Bayes classifier. For that, what we did was we conditioned on x. Okay, so that is what we did. And we get this expression, which is like this. And what I said here is, if at all you choose an h which minimizes this for all x, that is going to be our Bayes classifier. So that is what we want to call as Bayes classifier. And then we looked at what it means to say, what is this value of expression for a given value of x? That turned out to be this expression over here, which is essentially this box. Okay, and so h of x, for a given value of x, it is actually you have to choose one of the k values. So those k values will give, each of these k values will give some loss. Okay, so you can essentially find the minimum of these numbers, because you know all of this, you know Q, you know L, everything, you find what is the minimum, and that essentially is base classifier. And as an example, what we did was we chose the actions and the classes as the same, the usual classifier business. We looked at 0-1 loss. If at all our whole approach was correct, we should have the same result as before. What was the previous result for a 0-1 loss? It was that whichever posterior probability is higher, that is the one we are going to say as our output, right? So that is what we want to check. Using this approach, are we getting the same answer? And actually it turns out that we get the same answer. So that is what we have done in today's class. Okay, so this finishes our first part of discussion on Bayes classifier. Tomorrow we will look at how do you estimate class conditional densities, how do you estimate priors and things like that. And then we will have some real world example and some assignments for you to do. Okay, so this is all I had to say for today's class. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we will stop here. Thank you, everybody.
So in the last equation, it was CK on the RHS, right?